Good afternoon, guys. This is Zero Hedge. Let's start with this little story. It says here, get it to work. It says, since the 1980s, the U.S. has caught and imprisoned over a dozen people who are spying on American government agencies and corporations. So we catch Chinese spies once every few years. With that kind of frequency, you'd probably assume that China doesn't have that many intelligence assets in America at any given time. Based on those numbers, a safe estimate would be in the hundreds, or perhaps thousands. But it turns out that those estimates would be incredibly low. According to Guo Wengyu, a billionaire investor who has fled China and moved to New York since becoming a major critic of the Chinese regime, there are probably 25,000 spies in America who are working for Beijing, is what he says. Those numbers are derived from what he claims are his close ties to multiple Chinese intelligence agencies that may sound far-fetched to most Americans, but in China, the public and private sectors are closely aligned. They're practically the same entity. So we should take his warnings very seriously, which were brought up in a recent interview with the Free Beacon. Guo said that Chinese intelligence operations in the United States sharply increased after the 2012 Communist Party Congress that brought current leader Xi Jinping to power. Before 2012, cumulatively, China had around 10,000 to 20,000 agents working in the United States, he said. These agents had been sent to work in the United States over a 50-year period of time, and they were working in a defensive mode. According to the businessman, defensive intelligence was mainly focused on learning about the United States. The operations then shifted in 2012 to offensive spying. By offensive operations, I mean to be ready to destroy the U.S. in ways they can. So as if we don't have the jihadist story about, now we got this. China's budget for intelligence gathering before 2012 was around $600 million annually. Around 2012, the decision was made by Chinese leaders to dispatch another 5,000 spies to the United States. Some of them were sent as students, some as businessmen, and some as immigrants, but altogether 5,000. In addition to that, they developed between 15,000 to 18,000 other spies, and these are not directly sent, but these are developed within the United States, like the one woman that was nabbed in Virginia, I believe it was, not too long ago. So the recruited agents are not limited to Asians and Chinese Americans, but include all ethnic groups, including Hispanics, blacks, and Caucasians. And now the budget is between $3 billion to $4 billion annually. And this is information up to 1 month ago, he said. Guo said American counterintelligence agencies face several problems, mainly a lack of knowledge about Chinese intelligence agencies. You don't know which organizations in China are responsible for sending these spies, how they are managed, and to what purpose, he said. And U.S. adopts a very legalistic perspective to look at the question of spying. Yet for China, their methods are not what the United States understands. These spies, when they come to the U.S., they could sleep around. They could put poison in your glass of wine to kill you. Completely unscrupulous. Wow, that's nice to know. As for their goals, hold on here. Guo claims that the spies are mainly here to steal military technologies, but they're also here to buy high-level government officials, as well as political and corporate elites, who can give China favorable business deals. And what's frightening, is that these spies have planted malicious software in our most critical infrastructure systems and have thoroughly infiltrated our government's major weapon suppliers. Which raises an important question. How did our government let this happen? Isn't all the powerful NSA surveillance grid capable of catching these people? Apparently not. It appears that we've traded our freedom for security. But somewhere along the line, we didn't receive any security. While our government was busy funding and training the terrorists that would later inspire the acceptance of widespread government surveillance and the destruction of our civil liberties, they overlooked the flood of Chinese spies who have infiltrated every level of our society. You could call it incompetence, but it could also be something far more sinister. As Joel Skousen has pointed out many times, our government is riddled with globalists who have a hidden agenda. They want to usher in another world war between the U.S., China, and Russia, which will bring about the destruction of America and make way for a global government. As part of that plan, they have been undermining America at every turn in the hopes that our country will lose the war against China, a war which they are orchestrating. Perhaps as part of that effort, they've been looking the other way as the Chinese government steals and compromises our infrastructure and advanced military technologies. Whatever the case may be, if Guo is correct, then America is a severely compromised nation that is in no position to fight another world war. Keep in mind, Hillary was going to engage in another world war. China was going to be the new center. So she intended basically for us to lose, China to win, and Russia to just be, I don't know what was, I guess Russia would lose. Maybe Russia, we were going to have a war maybe with Russia. They would lose, we win, the Chinese win, we would be weakened, China takes over. Who knows? You know something? They are messed up. Messed up. And we are compromised. I mean, when they talk about buying high-level people, get in line. Get in line. McCain, Lindsey Graham, Schumer, Pelosi, Paul Ryan, all those people, they're all bought and paid for already. You better have some major bucks. And then China creates $250 billion in new loans, but analysts are worried it's not enough. They have their own problems, believe me. Overnight, China released its latest monthly credit data, which showed that even as China is trying to choke off its shadow banking sector, something we showed most recently last month when we discussed the biggest crash in net bond issuance on record. Credit to the broader economies to flow, continues to flow. Although it comes as M2 crashed to a new all-time low and has prompted some nervous analysts to say that even this crazy loan creation number may not be enough. The details. In June, Chinese banks extended 1.54 trillion yuan or won to in net to new yuan loans, well above the analysts' expectations of 1.2 trillion. In other words, here's the bottom line. China has a lot of its own problems. You name it, they got problems, which may be one reason why they don't want to have to deal with North Korea. But they're going to have to deal with North Korea. Somebody's going to have to. And we're going to have to deal with spies, jihadists, you name it. Who knows? That's all for now. God bless y'all, and thank the good Lord that it's in His hands and not ours.